And we already know that, that over the weekend, the police sent an alert on the rescue of a consular general and also the head of mission of Estonia to Ghana, Nabil Makram Basbous, by the Special Weapons and Ammunition Tactics Unit, the SWAT units of the Accra Police Command. Well, let's preface our discussion with Adam Bona, who is a security expert based in our capital and does a lot of work in the sub-region and elsewhere across the world, with a report by Maxwell Agbagba. It's going to put our discussions in context.
This is the property where the alleged kidnapping happened. We met the owner of this property here some minutes ago. Wanted to speak to him, but he drove off together with another man in the vehicle. When you come here today, there's actually a lock on the brown gate here. Information, according to police, indicates that they picked intelligence about the alleged kidnapping, so they stormed the residence of the Nigerians. At the scene, police say they met the diplomat coming out of one of the rooms. He narrated to them how armed men forced him into a waiting vehicle. According to the head of missions of Estonia, the men demanded ransom once they arrived at the location where he was held hostage. Residents described to us what they saw when police arrived.
There's a Nigerian guy over there who has kidnapped a white man. That's what I heard. There are a lot of policemen, so they've been going around, going to people's houses, thinking maybe the guy has jumped the wall or something, because they couldn't find him. Yeah, they were after him, but they couldn't find him. Now they went to this house. They went to one of my friend's house over here. And there's a guy over there, even they told the guy to come out. And they interviewed him, and then, but they couldn't find the guy. Yeah, because I heard they came and knocked the gate. One policeman knocked the gate, and then he opened. The guy himself opened the gate, and then what they will see is he locked the gate back, and then they rushed on him. But all of a sudden, he's gone. He's vanished.
Privilege to the government to see if the Nigerians, they will let them sleep exactly 6 o'clock, 5:30 to 6, or we'll be okay. Because since that is happening, Master, me, I'm a taxi driver. Not everything I can fit talk to you. Yeah, so we are appealing for the government to see all these things for us.
According to police, a brand new pistol with 5 rounds of ammunition was found in the car used for the alleged kidnapping. The vehicle was parked at the Lashibi residence of the Nigerians. Accra Regional Police Public Relations Officer DSP Ifyatenge says police is on a manhunt for the suspects.
He was rescued, and the vehicle that was used in the search act was also impounded by the police, and also the police was able to retrieve a pistol. As I speak to you now, the occupants of the house who allegedly embarked on this kidnap have escaped, and that the regional command is on a manhunt for these 3. We are working assiduously to make sure that the 3 are apprehended to face the full rigors of the law. And this comes to 2 cases in about 3 weeks that the police have been able to rescue victims of this kind of trend in crime. There's a trend, and the police will not hesitate and marshalling its resources to ensure this trend of crime that we are seeing does not have its way in Ghana, especially in Accra.
For now, the property rented by the Nigerians looks abandoned, and it's unclear whether or not the police locked it up. More information should come from the police in the coming days. Maxwell Agbagba for JoyNews.
And we've been in touch with the police. We'll have ongoing discussions subsequently in the next 48 hours. But we're beginning with some initial discussions on security and what the patterns of kidnappings, as we've seen in Nigeria and across the West African sub-region, how they're undertaken, and how as a country we should also have security agencies on the alert on many of these incidents. But we have Adam Bona. He's a security expert. He's a regular on the show, and we're privileged to have him again help us do the discussions. Good morning to you,
Good morning. Good morning, Roland.
Now, this incident would not surprise you, would it? Especially with where you operate from.
No, at all. Because then Good morning to your viewers and happy Easter. If you ask me, I would say no, not at all, because then since the last kidnappings, I haven't seen the country as, you know, the country putting in enough measures to protect everyone, every life on the soil of Ghana. I haven't seen enough measures put in place to ensure that myself and you and everybody is, you know, does not become a victim of kidnappings. And so, and until some of us begin to see effective or measures being put in place, we are going to have a rather increasing situation or spate of kidnappings in this country.
Okay. Now, I've decided to preface our discussions on three levels. We've had a number of incidents of reported kidnappings. And then also we've had this own crusade that we as media and also as the multimedia group were embarking on with bring back our tardy girls, etc. Would we say these are a number of kidnappings which should put the police on the alert?
Yes, it should put not just the police alone, it should put the executive on the alert. Because you see, if you look at, if you look at those who are suspected to be involved in this kidnapping, these are foreigners. And as I speak to you, I think somewhere in Congo, people are getting lynched, you know, suspected, you know, some Nigerians are getting beaten and lynched in Congo. We've seen that in, what do you call it, South Africa, xenophobic attacks. And so mine is that if measures are not put in place, we are going to have the people, ordinary people, beginning to take the laws into their own hands. I think it nearly happened in the Takrady situation, and the Takrady situation is still there, because then it's going to take just, you know, that much, because as for the fuel, it's already there. It takes that little much to ignite the whole of Takrady into that big ball of fire, and probably the whole of the country, because then we have very wonderful Nigerians who are living in this country. I mean, but if you look at it, second generation Nigerians who are coming in, some of them have all, you know, all this evil mindset, who are in and see kidnappings to be business as usual. And therefore, sometimes I have had interactions with some of them, and they will tell me that some of them don't usually even see anything wrong with such a habit. And I said, no, these things are not something that we used to see, you know, happening rampantly. But unfortunately, we are beginning to see it. And so, Roland, it's something that should worry probably ECOWAS itself. Let's not leave it to just the Ghanaian authorities. You know, I have recommended that let's have a joint security task force. Can we get the ECOWAS in? Because then it is ECOWAS that has created all these problems. Because then there is what they call the free movement treaty, which allows everybody to move in. You don't say free movement treaty when you haven't put in measures to protect probably smaller countries like ours, where, you know, our way of doing things is probably significantly different from our neighbors. These are very important things we need to look at.
About 2 years ago, I was having some interaction with some security experts from ONEP and some other related agencies. And I also had spoken to a couple of friends who were journalists in Nigeria. And the narration led me to draw the conclusion: kidnappings are usual businesses in Nigeria, especially with expatriates, either diplomats or those working in the oil business, and it was lucrative.
Yeah. For instance, as we speak, somewhere in Kaduna, some Brits were taken hostage. I think 3 days ago. They went, I think, as part of the festive season, they went out there to a party in a yard, and gunmen just bulldozed the place down. You know, sporadic shootings, kidnapped some Brits. I think a number of them have been killed. because then they took them hostage, were waiting for ransom, it didn't come in, and I think they killed them. My point is that if you look at what started all these kidnappings, it has to do with some, element of the Nigerian politicians and the Nigerian godfathers themselves involved. So that if I didn't like you, I would get probably a militia or get my own boys to kidnap you and teach you a lesson. I mean, you would see this in their own movies where, I mean, sometimes even hardcore women, gangsters would kidnap men, beat them, sometimes kill them. And so this thing is still there, and it's difficult for the Nigerian government to fight it. It's difficult for the Nigerian government to fight it because how do you fight a canker that probably you have created, that has existed for, call it maybe 30, 40 years, and you have not been able to erase it? And so to most of these people who engage in this dastardly act, it is business. It brings them money. It is a very lucrative way of making easy money. You know of that Nigerian, that, kidnapper who had his family here.
Yes, yes.
He bought...
At the time, I collected a ransom when it was announced by the Nigerian IGP when he visited Ghana.
Exactly.
I collected ransom in the region of between $6 and $8 million US.
And this is not...
And even had somebody who had been kidnapped in Nigeria at the time that he was...
Exactly. And this is not 8 million naira, 8 million cedis. You're talking about US dollars. And he lived in no other place than East Legon. This is someone who could pass as just a very ordinary person, maybe driving an SUV in, Lagos Street, Lagos Avenue and all that. And you see him and it's normal. Maybe you go to any of the, pubs and have a drink. And he's bought some properties, not one, but a number of properties in around the East Legon area. And his family, children and wife were staying in Ghana. And so such a person, he comes around and he sees Caucasians jogging. I mean, we see them. I mean, if you are around where I am, you will see them in the morning, jogging or walking on the streets and just having a chat and sometimes stopping by to engage in things that myself and you would do, which they cannot do when they are maybe in Lagos or in River State, Port Harcourt and all that. But over here, they're able to do it because then relatively it is safe here. But we are beginning to see these Nigerians who have come in, go and maybe bring in some of their indigents and say, well, it is business. We can get people kidnapped and make money. And for all you know, people have been kidnapped and they paid ransom. And sometimes because of their own name or image, they will not even go and report the authorities. And that is where the problem is, because then for how long have these people been engaged in? These guys who kidnapped the Lebanese Estonian diplomat. For how long have they been in Ghana? We don't even know. And so as far as I'm concerned, it's becoming probably a sub-regional issue where all of us should look at and ask a lot of questions and ask the executive, the leadership of this country. Let's not wait for innocent Nigerians to be victimized and be attacked. Then we say, oh, this issue is now becoming something that we should pay attention to. Our leaders usually are very late in coming to the party. They wait for the issue to get out of hand. Then they say, oh, let's put in measures and see how we are going to fight this canker. So, Roland, it's an issue.
Now, the second tranche of the discussion then comes to the protocols as established by ECOWAS, for which we have members signing on to, if not respectively, across the 16 member states. That enjoins each member state to allow for that level of entry. Now, not in the absence, in the atmosphere of trying to promote that, what should be the structures and the mechanisms that respective countries like Ghana, etc., they should have had before properly implementing some of these protocols?
Well, some of the measures that, if you ask me, should have been put in place too, we should have had a database of probably every Ghanaian. First of all, if you ask me, does the country have a database of everyone who lives in Ghana? I mean, citizens, both call them citizens and non-citizens, those who have resident permits and all that. The country doesn't have it.
Like existing some of the developed countries.
You know, the country doesn't have it. Secondly, do we have enough, what do you call it, immigration officers? We don't have them, because you need immigration officers to probably police the borders. We don't have them. Do we have enough systems to be able to pick up those who are illegally crossing into the country? Do we have enough systems to be able to tell who is a fugitive, who is on the run? Do we have enough systems to be able to tell who has committed a crime in Ghana and has escaped probably into Togo or Nigeria, where we are able to communicate with our Togolese counterparts or Beninese or the Nigerians? We don't have all this in place. And so the list can go on and on and on and on. And so it becomes very difficult to be able to track and trace and probably neutralize those who are coming in to commit these high crimes. And so for me, as a country or individual countries, we should have put in all these measures before we do it. But that notwithstanding, it hasn't been done. Nothing stops us from putting in these measures, so that you see, by and large, technology has evolved. I mean, 20 years ago, the type of technology we have today didn't exist. Now technology is even becoming cheaper and cheaper. What is stopping our executives from saying, for instance, immigrants who are coming into the country must pay for these systems we put in to make sure that we are able to separate the chaff from the good stuff? And so if we don't do this, other countries are doing that. If you go to the British High Commission, if you go to the American Embassy and most of these developed country embassies, they charge everybody. But they do all this to be able to stop the bad ones from coming in. And so they would have, let's say, a flat rate for both the good and then the bad people who want to go into their country, either for tourism purposes or for, you know, studies or for residence purposes and all that. They have a flat rate for everybody. And that has assisted them largely to separate the chaff from the good stuff. But we are not doing that. We haven't done that.
In the United Kingdom, they have what they
is.
call the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol and their personnel, based on the protocols and the standard operating procedures by which they undertake or operate with, they can stop anybody who they feel
they suspect, yes.
They psychologically
yes, they'll profile you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they do some form of profiling. And so you could be stopped on the streets, at a shop,
anywhere,
etc. Even though they've made an entry data of anybody who is coming in. Okay, so ideally, we could have an immigration officer or maybe a joint security border body within even the state.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So how do we do that and do that coordination in such a way that if it's the police, if they stop, then they could make the necessary checks to see? Because there are a lot of people walking on our streets who don't have the requisite papers or documentation.
Exactly. One of the things I have proposed has to do with the district assemblies, for instance, collect what is called the property rates. How effective has a property rate regime worked? You lived in Britain, you are aware of the council tax, where you have to pay council tax, which probably we call the property rate here. How do we use that to probably pick up data on those who are staying in this country illegally? Because then this house that the diplomat was probably kidnapped and put into belonged to, obviously could be either a Nigerian who is resident in this country, or a Ghanaian who, either a foreigner who is resident in this country, or a Ghanaian citizen. And so mine is that there should have been a way to say foreigners living within a particular geographical area. Let's say this area, this area is the Kokromemle area. There's the nearest police station should have a desk where you go in to report yourself and say, this is me, I'm a Nigerian, I'm a Togolese. I've been given 90 days to move around the country. I'm not here for business. I'm here to probably do one or two things and leave the country. And when I'm leaving, I'm supposed to come and inform you that I've left, or I'm supposed to call and say, maybe I've left. Once these measures are put in place, it might not deal with the entire situation, but it will deal with part of the problems which we are currently and have encountered. And also, even with the immigration laws itself, if you look at, I think it's Act 2000 and Section 51, subsection, 1B or so, it talks about, I don't have it, but I can paraphrase. It talks about harboring, what do you call it, illegal immigrants, knowingly. If you harbor illegal immigrants knowingly, you would have committed a certain immigration law that says that you should either be fined or you spend 2 years in prison. When was the last time somebody did this and was jailed and it was publicized? And so most landlords don't know. I have one or two, I rent some, I have one or two properties I rent out.
So you do that profiling before?
Oh yes, the agent, the person who is taking care of it, I've said, please don't give this house to anyone who doesn't have resident permit. The person could be a foreigner, could be this, could be that. Don't give any of my properties to anyone who does not have the legal permit to stay in this country. And when one of them becomes vacant, you would see others would want to, and you will do the profiling and say, no, we can't give it to you. To the extent that put in measures to say, even if you don't have, not that you've just lost your job, but you are somebody who has probably, we cannot tell who you are, and you're even a Ghanaian, it's difficult to say, rent this house to this person, because then people are beginning to, use properties to perpetuate a lot of crimes. And so mine is that, what are we doing with our rent laws? We have rent laws that, largely are not, have not been used the way it should be used. Immigration laws that are not being used. And so probably I'll call on the Ministry of the Interior, which call it the Immigration Service comes under, to put in, what do you call it, a task force, a joint task force, that will do random checks, swoops into some of these facilities and make sure that people are punished. If people are punished, it's the only way, Roland, we would probably stop this act of kidnappings. If not, it is unfortunately going to increase, because then, as for the police, I always say the police is almost like the Zoom lion, unfortunately, the Zoom lion of the security agencies. So that if there is
they are everywhere and do a bit of everything.
They do a bit of everything, and they are like, call it a septic tank, where everything goes in there. And so when there is a homicide, they are called. When there is an illegal immigrant who has committed a crime, they call the police to say, deal with it, even though you've broken an immigration law. And so mine is that if you leave this just in the hands of the police and say, deal with it, it becomes very difficult, because then have they been trained to deal with immigration issues? No. They haven't been trained to ask, to even do proper profiling. You stop Roland. How do you tell if Roland is a Ghanaian or Togolese or Nigerian or someone from Burkina Faso? How do you tell? How do they profile? They will be looking at you from the point of view of, maybe this guy looks like some dealer, or looks like somebody who is committed.
Yeah, from the criminal aspect, from the immigration aspect.
These are things that needs to be looked at, Roland.
But if we have to do the transitioning, it also means that we're beginning or always continuing from a wrong premise based on what you've said, because it means that we've left everything at the hands of the police.
Yes, which is wrong.
For which a greater responsibility should have been the co-opted body you're talking about.
Yes.
And then also a greater role played by the immigration, because they have the expertise and the training.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
Would we need some form of foreign assistance in that endeavor, and also some security expert assistance by way of consultation, like what you constantly do, what Dr. Enin also constantly does, for which, of course, we don't listen to any of you anyway?
Well, it is true. Broader consultations would have to always take place with regards to some of these issues, because then one thing I've always said is the fact that you've spent 40 old years in the military doesn't make you a security expert. The fact that you are probably a commissioner of police doesn't make you a security expert, because then probably you are trained. Let's say you are an immigration officer, you are trained to deal with immigration issues alone. And so it is always good to broaden the scope and bring in other stakeholders who would have knowledge in varied areas to help in dealing with some of this canker. Then you probably also, you ask a question about foreign assistance. If you ask me, I would say no. You don't need foreign assistance. You would be requiring for foreign assistance in the probably in the era of technology. But if it comes to money, immigration is business. Others are making millions. Look at the Mexico-US border. How much money they generate every day.
With the throughput.
Yes, how much money?
Just people coming in.
People coming in. Where if you have to pay, people are paying. Let's use that, because then we have a lot of people coming into our country. How do we charge everybody who is coming in to be able to keep everybody who is coming in safe? I rather want to live in Ghana and be safe than live in Ghana where everybody is coming in and I'm not safe. If I'm a foreigner, I want to rather pay, instead of paying maybe $20 to come into Ghana, I rather want to pay $100. Live in a country where I can move around freely than pay probably next to nothing and I'm living in maybe Somaliland, for instance. No. So these are things that for me, in moving forward, let's not just allow the situation to fester, to deal with itself. Because what is going on, I fear that we might see, we are close to seeing xenophobic attacks in this, because then
it looks like the continuous reports always keep saying that the Nigerians are Nigerians.
Yes.
And if you look at the international news also, it looks like they are the main perpetrators.
And the Nigerian leaders staying in this country probably are not also helping the situation. They are not helping us understand who the good Nigerian is and who the bad Nigerian is. And so you see a Nigerian who is Igbo, who is Yoruba, who is, there are so many of them, different tribes. But once they leave, we see them to be one people. And so mine is that, what are they also doing to let us know who is a bad Nigerian and who is a good Nigerian? Many of them, I have many Nigerian friends who are superb, who I will tell you are better than most of us in terms of attitude, in terms of obeying the law. But you have few of them who are making this situation. So if we don't deal with this situation, I'm telling you that it is just going to take that little spark for someone to say, oh, I think this house is harboring, there's someone in captivity and is inhabited by some Nigerians. And it could be because the Nigerian might have taken somebody's girlfriend and it's nothing to do with kidnapping. And before you see, they set the house ablaze.
So that's what you're afraid about?
Yes.
Okay. And I was doing some reading, and especially when I started getting reports of this yesterday. And it looks like there are countries, especially in Asia, we have Thailand and Vietnam, they have a lot of influx of foreigners.
Exactly.
But they have a way of checking. It means that they have deployed the proper systems.
Yes, yes, they have. They have, because then if you travel to any of these countries, it is, excuse me to say, crazy. You get to the airport on departure, you see some of these Nigerians hustling you. I have this I want to give to you. And sometimes you ask yourself, and this was many years ago, but today it's changing, because they are beginning to, crack down on the bad ones. They put in measures right from the point of entry to where you stay. They are able to profile you and know who you are. But unfortunately, we haven't done that. We have simply gone to sleep and hoping that one day we'll wake up in the morning and it hasn't rained. Or it rained, but the Odo River was able to retain or take the water that's going through. But if you wake up and it's rain and the Odo River spills its banks, then it means that people would die. This is what we have lived in.
We have to wrap up our discussion, but any advice for all of us, including all the expatriates who seem to be freely jogging either the early part of the morning or at dusk before the evening comes?
No, I think that we should just be alert. Your instinct is very important. You should just be alert. Things are changing. I wouldn't want to push a panic button. Let's still go, about our normal duties, the way it is. But let's be a bit more careful with regards to people who live within the neighborhood. Because if you look at where this man was kidnapped and where he was taken to, it's not too far away. It means that these guys are people who have come within the neighborhood and did somebody even check. And so I would want to see probably the community watchdog, you know, thing we used to have now beginning to play a role. I want to see the landlords association, because the landlords association are very important. But as citizens, ordinary citizens, you are probably walking on the street. Make sure you are probably in areas where it has people. And if you feel somebody is following you, it is always best to probably, if there is a joint stay, if there is what's the name, kebab or any joint or beer, just go and sit there. Just a pub. Just sit in there hoping and let somebody know you feel some people are following you. And you know, we are good people. Most people are good in this country. If you want to be escorted to your home, people would walk you home and say you are safe at your home. So these are some of the things. And so as far as I'm concerned, the Landlords Association should probably come together again and see how they can educate their members not to be renting their facilities to people who don't have the permit to stay in this country. It's very important.
Well, thank you very much. And this is educative. We'll continue with it. We'll also touch base with the police by tomorrow, and then we'll get some positive information on the expectations of not only the ordinary citizen, but also what is being done by the security outfit. We've had Adam Boda, and he operates a security consult in Ghana, but also is a consultant himself. And
Security Warehouse Limited. Security
Warehouse Limited. And also is a consultant himself and a security expert doing a lot of analysis on many other related security issues on the network. Well, let's move on. We'll have more issues to discuss, but again, make sure that you keep getting interactive. Facebook, JoyNews on TV. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.